The title of the graphic novel I chose was X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude. The writers of this graphic novel are Fabian Nicieza, John Francis Moore, Todd DeZago, Scott Lobdell, Mark Waid, and Jeff Loeb. The pencilers are Andy Kubert, Jan Derzima, Steve Epting, Terry Dodson, Roger Cruz, Ron Garney, and Ian Churchill. The inkers are Matt Ryan, L. Milgram, Tim Townsend, Bud LaRosa, with Dan Green, Joseph Rubinstein, Hilary Barda, and W.C. Karani. The colors were chosen by Kevin Summers, Glynis Oliver, Steve Buccellato, and Mike Thomas, with Paul Beckton, Matt Hicks, Marie Javins, and Digital Chameleon. Letters were completed by Chris Epiopoulos, Richard Starkings, and Comicraft, and Bill Oakley with NJQ. The editors of the graphic novel are Bob Harris, Kelly Corvesi, and Lisa Patrick. The artist behind the front cover art was Andy Kubert and Thomas Mason. The artist behind the back cover art was Andy Kubert, Matt Ryan, and Tom Chu. The publisher of X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude was Dan Buckley with Marvel Comics. X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude is 264 pages in length. It is not a genuine graphic novel, but rather a compilation that collects issues 108 through 109 of X Factor, number 319 through 321 of Uncanny X-Men, 38 through 41 of X-Men, 20 of Cable, and the X-Men Age of Apocalypse Ashcan edition, all originally published between 1994 and 1995. Act 1 ends on page 91 and Act 2 begins on page 92. Act 2 ends on page 167 and Act 3 begins on page 168. I think that it fits our model as well as an issue with a robust number of superheroes can. There is simply a lot going on in this compilation. The story in X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude belongs to Professor X's son, David Haller, aka Legion. David Haller's goal is to go back in time and kill Magneto for his father, thus changing history for the better in his mind. The conflict in Act 2 very much supports that goal. Legion goes to Israel, where he is confronted by the X-Men's Gold Strike Force, which is comprised of Jean Grey, Psylocke, Bishop, Iceman, and Storm. A struggle ensues, but inevitably results in the X-Men's Gold Strike Force being transported back in time with Legion. And there, that is, for those who wanted to see it. X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude story has a solid story arc. It shows the X-Men and X-Factor's everyday world, but before the interference of Mystique awakens Legion. X-Factor tries to contain Mystique, but in the process, Legion escapes. Meanwhile, a little bit later, Professor X is looking back on a brighter time when he and Magneto were friends. Legion enters that vision and agrees that if Magneto had only cooperated with Xavier, the dream of a peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants could already have happened. Could already have been established. This knowledge led Legion to do something horrible. I won't say more, but can't you tell that it's a solid story arc from what you know of the X-Men? Legion has an outstanding character arc in X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude, from being in a coma in which he got control of his various multiple personalities, to accidentally killing his father, Professor X, while trying to assassinate a younger Magneto. David Haller changed more than you know when you read it. He has also changed history in a horrific fashion. The story in X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude establishes and has effective transitions. The readers easily know where and when they are, whether through captions or through location information in the compilation's art. The readers told both where they are and when they are. There's lots of action to action and subject to subject in X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude, such as the panels at the pool in which Rogue jumps off the diving board only to see halfway down the Iceman has turned the water in the pool to ice. That is shown here, for those who want to know. There's a lot of action, subject to subject in that panel. These panels are a mix of action and subject to subject. I'm sure there are more of McLeod's ideas of transition as well, but I mostly saw the previously mentioned ones. I would say that the story in X-Men Age of Apocalypse Prelude makes use of the page as a mini-comic idea. I'd say that it works effectively, though as an